It is New Year's Eve, one day left in 2021. We will talk the year-end review for the Louisville Cardinal Athletics Department on this episode of the Locked On Louisville podcast. Stay tuned.
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Louisville podcast. Happy New Year's Eve. Today's episode is brought to you by Netsuite. Netsuite is the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth. Head to netsuite.com/lockedonncaa for special end-of-year financing on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. Also want to take this time to say thank you for making us your first listen of the day. And as always, the Locked On Louisville podcast is free on all streaming services, 5 days a week, your team every day. We're taking time on this episode to give the year-end review for the Louisville Cardinal Athletics Department, talking about the top individual performers and top moments from this past year, and giving some predictions on what might come in the 2022 calendar year. Before we get into the content of today's show, like I mentioned, for those who are not aware of who I am, my name is Dalton Pence. I'm a credentialed media member for Cardinal Sports Zone, where I serve as both a football beat writer and a recruiting analyst. Also do some PA announcing work for the university in various sports. You can follow my Twitter in the handle in the graphic at the bottom left hand of your screen. You can also follow the podcast Twitter page at LO_Louisville. So let's get right on into it. Identifying the top individual performers from 2021 for the Louisville Cardinals across all sports. There are 5: Malik Cunningham, Dana Evans, Henry Davis, and Tori Dilfer and Anna Stevenson. We'll start out talking Malik Cunningham. Almost passed the 3,000-yard passing, 1,000-yard rushing threshold in the bowl game. Came up, I believe, 59 passing yards short, but an incredible season from Malik Cunningham. Had 19 passing touchdowns, 20 rushing touchdowns on this season. Will be coming back next year, but this year broke a lot of, or kind of shot up the leaderboards, so to speak, for the Louisville Cardinals in the football program history books, and was a absolutely electric player throughout the season. Although the Cards did finish 6-7 below 500, Malik Cunningham was the catalyst for this Louisville offense. Really took a step forward in his progression, had career highs in both passing and rushing yards. Like I mentioned, over 1,000 yards on the ground. Overall, just accounting for 39 total touchdowns. Had a very good season, carried the Cards offense at times, and really was a menace both passing and rushing the ball. We're excited to see what he can bring to the table next year. But when you talk about the top individual performers for 2021, Malik Cunningham is definitely up there. Perhaps, maybe the best top individual performer, but definitely can't discredit the next 4 on the list. We'll move on now to Dana Evans. Dana just won a WNBA championship after the women's college basketball season ended in April. She was selected with the 13th overall pick by the Dallas Wings in the WNBA draft. But last season, what was there to be said? Back-to-back ACC Player of the Year awards, named first team All-American, top 5 finalists for the Drysdale Award and Dawn Staley Award finalist, Honda Sports Award finalist, and just overall, just a very special player in a long line of special players that had played under Jeff Walz in the past 12 to 13 years. One of those things that she did this season, I thought that she was extremely incredible. 20.1 points per game, averaged 2.7 assists, a menace defensively, had 38 total steals. Points came out to 602 points. Shot 35% from behind the arc, 43% from the field, and just the heart and soul of the team. The team did come up short in the Elite Eight, but at the end of the day, we cannot discredit what Dana Evans did and what she continues to do outside of, of her career at Louisville. But just another long line of, great players, all Americans that have played under Jeff Walz. Dana Evans has a special chapter in the Louisville history books, top 5 in a lot of categories in the statistical records. And she had a tremendous senior season. Unfortunately, it ended in a way that we weren't necessarily too fond of in a loss against Stanford. But ultimately, very excited for what she did for the program. Very appreciative, grateful for how she played in 2021. Had a couple clutch buckets that ended up winning winning games for the Cardinals. I can't speak today. But overall, Dana Evans, extremely solid. Henry Davis, from baseball, the first number 1 overall selection for the Louisville baseball program, went to the Pittsburgh Pirates. The catcher was voted All-American First Team from the ABCA and Baseball America. He was a Buster Posey Award finalist, a Dick Hauser Trophy semifinalist, a Golden Spikes Award semifinalist, was All ACC First Team selection, and All ACC Academic Team. He played in all of the 50 games that the Cardinals squared off in this past spring and led the team with a .370 batting average, had 15 home runs, 48 RBIs, led the ACC in on-base percentage, and ranked in the top 10 in the league in batting average, hits, home runs, RBIs, total bases, and slugging percentages. One of the best catchers in the country this past season for the NCAA. GoCards.com. You can go check that out. I just read off some of the accolades that he had. Absolutely incredible year for Davis. Unfortunately, that team did not make the NCAA tournament. So, we only got to see Davis once in the NCAA tournament during his tenure here at Louisville for 3 seasons. COVID hit the year prior. And unfortunately, him and Ben Ellis both. Ben Ellis is another player who, played well in the minors as well coming out and, had a very strong end to the 2021 spring season for Louisville. So we wish them both the best of luck. They're going to do great in the pros. Henry Davis, the best catcher in program history statistically. I'd like to see if he can, get on the same career trajectory as Will Smith for the Dodgers. But Henry Davis definitely on that list. The next 2, volleyball, Tori Dilfer, Anna Stevenson. Both All-American First-Team selections. Tori Dilfer, back-to-back ACC Setter of the Year award winner, ranked toward the top of the NCAA leaderboards in assists per set, one of the most efficient setters in the country as well. Arguably the heart and soul of the team. Anna Stevenson, also first-team All-American. She just signed a professional contract to go play over in Turkey, and she'll be moving over there over in the next week or so. So we wish her the best of luck. But 2 great performers for the Cards, very instrumental in the Cardinals' 32-1 season finish, the best finish in program history, and a lot of it was due to their contributions on the court. I think, Anna Stevenson won the ACC Player of the Week award 3 times, and that might be tied for the most of any player this season. Both her and Dilfer, big-time leaders on and off the court. Love what they did for the program. They were extreme ambassadors for the program, extreme ambassadors for the university, for the community, for the city. We couldn't ask much more from that duo of very, very high, very, very high character individuals. So overall, 5 top individual performers: Malik Cunningham, Dana Evans, Henry Davis, Tori Dilfer, Anna Stevenson, all 5 great here at the University of Louisville, but their best days are ahead of them, and we look forward to cheering them on in their respective chapters post-university. So I want to transition now into the top moments of the 2021 calendar year. We'll do that after we talk about our friends at Netsuite and the title sponsor of the show. So I want you to imagine a scenario. So this is it. The putt to win the tournament. If you sink it, the championship is yours, but on your backswing, your hat falls over your eyes. Is this how you're running your business? Poor visibility because you're still relying on spreadsheets and outdated finance software. To see the full picture, you need to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle. It's the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth and everything you need to grow all in one place. With NetSuite, you can automate your processes and close your books in no time while staying well ahead of the competition. Over 28,000 businesses already use NetSuite for the new year. NetSuite has a new financing program for those ready to upgrade at netsuite.com/locked. Head to netsuite.com/locked for this special one-of-a-kind financing offer on the number one financial system for growing businesses, netsuite.com/locked. Thanks again for making Locked On Louisville your first listen every day. Make sure to check out the Ultimate College Football Playoff Preview 2021, local experts, betting advice, and a draft analysis. The most comprehensive college football playoff preview is live ahead of the semifinal matchups that will begin this afternoon. So be able to check that out while you still can. So transitioning into the top moments for the Louisville Cardinals athletics department over the past calendar year, we will start out with the Louisville Volleyball team making the Final Four for the first time in program history. Unfortunately, the season ended in a way that we did not want it to, but that does not take away how historic this season was. 32-1, finished with an undefeated regular season, went through, four matches in the NCAA tournament, capped off with a 3-1 set victory over the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets at Freedom Hall, which I was at, and it was an absolutely electric atmosphere. I guess you could say that one of the top moments, in my opinion, I'm arguing that it is the top moment. The Louisville volleyball team had the best team in program history this past season, and they're looking to be very solid next year. We'll talk about that here in the next segment and what that means for prediction-wise. But overall, a ton of ranked wins, beating Pittsburgh twice, beating Georgia Tech 3 times, beating Kentucky, Nebraska, Purdue, etc. The list goes on. Florida. This team achieved new heights, and when the pressure built, the targets on their back, got increasingly bigger. This team stayed poised. They played for one another. They represented the university very well. They were unapologetically all Louisville all the time, and they helped out in a time where there was a lot of uncertainty in the athletics department, and they offered, that unification and bringing the fan base that had been so divided over the past year back into the fold. So, I'm arguing the top moment is the Louisville volleyball team's whole season in general. Also, the Louisville field hockey team winning the ACC championship outright this past season, had a gauntlet of a schedule. Head coach Justine Sowery will tell you, as she told me a couple months ago, this was the hardest schedule perhaps that she has played at the helm of the Louisville Cardinals field hockey program, and the Cardinals exceeded expectations and had a ton of ranked victories. It seems like they played more ranked teams than they played unranked teams. Unfortunately, they ended the year with a tough loss against Harvard in the NCAA tournament, but that does not take away from the magic that they had in the regular season. A lot of great victories. I think their only losses in the regular season came to teams that finished in the top 3 or 4 of the final field hockey poll. But definitely a big congrats to the field hockey team. That program is continuing to it's continuing to rise to new heights. The senior class that will be departing leaves the field hockey program as the winningest class in the program's history. Overall, a very, very solid year for Justine Sowery and company. Allie Bidding was another player that could have made a top individual performers list for the field hockey team, a first team selection. So overall, very, very solid, performance all season long. So, the volleyball, the field hockey, capped off by some big recognition, but all season long, very fun to watch. Kind of looking more to individual moments now. The Jaylin Alderman pick 6 against Central Florida back in September makes the cut when all hope seemed lost, when Malik Cunningham's interception was batted up Malik Cunningham's pass was batted up in the air for an interception that put the Golden Knights a couple, probably about 5 to 6 yards outside of field goal range with less than a minute to go. It seemed like all hope was lost. The very next play, Dylan Gabriel threw a pass that was intercepted by true freshman Jaylin Alderman, who was playing his first snap of that game, took it to the house, and Cardinal Stadium went absolutely bonkers, got electric. I mean, it was incredible to see that atmosphere. Obviously, the season afterwards, maybe not necessarily living up to the hopes of what it could have been, considering how close the Cards were to winning a handful of games. But overall, such an electrifying play. I mean, there hasn't been many plays that I can remember in the past 5 to 6 years, especially in the Satterfield era, to where the team has made kind of escaped defeat very, very very late in the game, and it seemed like all hope was lost. And that was a game that kind of kept the Louisville fan base from coming unhinged. Losing to Mississippi in the season opener, kind of struggling against Eastern Kentucky for the most part in the second week, coming out against Central Florida, getting that victory was very solid for the team. The whole team said it was a morale boost. And in the wake of Monty Montgomery's injury, which would prove to be a season-ending one, Jaylin Alderman stepped up when the Cards needed it the most and made one of the most clutch plays in the past 10 years, maybe even one of the most clutch plays in program history. The Cards got a big win against the Golden Knights, who ultimately didn't necessarily have all that great of a season. When Dylan Gabriel went down in that game, he would miss the remainder of the season as well. The final top individual performance, this was kind of I went back and forth here. I looked at the the Louisville win against the Louisville win against Oregon in the Sweet 16 of the women's college basketball tournament. I opted to go, despite injuries and everything else, Louisville giving the Connecticut Huskies their first ever loss in the Mohegan Sun just a couple weeks ago, defeating the number 7th ranked UConn Huskies. Look, I get it. No Paige Beckers, no Azzy Fudd. There's a handful of other players that didn't play either. However, they still have a lot of talent. Caroline Descharme, moving on down the list, there's still a very, very talented team with the best coach in women's college basketball history, and Gino Auriemma. Just an overall great performance. The Cards, clutched up. Haley Van Lith hit 2 very, very clutch triples late in the fourth quarter of that contest, and that's one where there's probably a handful of victories that you can kind of select as, hey, this can make the top individual performance list. This can make the top individual performance list for the Louisville women's basketball team. But ultimately, I'm going to go with the win over UConn. The win over Kentucky it was an honorable mention as well, but that just kind of, epitomizes how solid this Louisville women's basketball team is. The fact that you can, go back and forth with a handful of different victories really bodes well for where this program has been, trending upwards for the past 10 years or so and where it looks to go. But ultimately, a lot of top moments. There were some that just missed the cut, but by all means, these were the ones that I felt that were the most special. The volleyball team going 32-1, the field hockey team winning the ACC championship outright, Jaylin Alderman's pick 6 to beat UCF, escaping the jaws of defeat, and then finally the Louisville women's basketball victory against UConn. I want to take this time now to transition into predicting, or making some predictions, I should say, for the 2022 calendar year. We'll do that after we talk about our friends at Built Bar. Tomorrow is the new year, so that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. It's the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar and makes it easier to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good. You'll want to eat it, unlike other proteins that can be chalky, waxy, or taste like a chemical spill. Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. They contain a lot of healthy benefits, low in calories, low in sugar, low in net carbs, high in protein. And you compare that to a candy bar, and it's night and day. So here's an idea for the new year. Go to all your secret treat stashes at home, in the pantry, at the office, in the car, wherever. Throw out all the sugary or calorie-filled treats and replace them with Built Bars. So when you're craving a snack or treat, you can reach for something that's healthy and tastes incredible. Even if you're not a huge fan of working out, you can at least eat something that tastes good and is good for you. And there's so many flavors that you can choose from. So go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your first order. Once again, that's using the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Here it comes. The final segment of the 2021 calendar season. I want to take this time just very quickly to tell you how appreciative I am of you all, the listeners, everyone who's rating, subscribing, sharing, listening, promoting the podcast on streaming services, on social media. It definitely does not go unnoticed. I appreciate each and every one of you. Since this podcast's introduction on August 2nd of this past year. We have eclipsed 100 episodes, 30 of those on YouTube now, over 10,000 downloads audio-wise, and we just passed the 1,000 view threshold on YouTube. I'm very appreciative of everyone for their involvement in getting this podcast off the ground. Definitely some quick shout-outs to Ross Jackson, Zach Blackerby, David Locke, Candace Cooper, all those that are helping. Doug Branson, Kylie Young, those that are helping in the wings that they don't get the recognition up front. Definitely appreciative to be here, and I'm looking forward to a good 2022 at the helm of the podcast. Also looking forward to a good calendar year for the Louisville Athletics Department. Some predictions that I want to make before the year, so we can come back and look at this like, Dalton, you didn't say that. Well, yes, I did on December 31st. Whenever, if you viewed this podcast, you knew that I made some of these predictions. Some of them bold, some of them not. I want to start out by saying I've made this no secret on social media. The Louisville volleyball team is winning it all in 2022. They do lose Tori Dilfer. They do lose Anna Stevenson. However, they return a good amount of that nucleus: Anna DeBeer, Claire Chaussee, Amaya Tillman, Iko Jones, Aiden Bartlett, Elena Scott, Alexa Hendricks, etc. And then you bring in some solid newcomers. Raquel Lazaro from USC has nearly 4,000 career assists to her name. She will step into Tori Dilfer's shoes and it's going to be a very difficult situation to step into to replace such a key performer, back-to-back ACC setter of the year. But Lazaro has the talent to definitely be a serviceable setter in this league in conference. So ultimately, in the country, she has, probably going to be, one of the better setters in the country. She, for the past couple seasons at USC, Pac-12 Freshman of the Year, and had some good moments for the Trojans. So very excited to see what she can do here in the Derby City. Danny Busboom-Kelly has identified her as the next great setter for the team, and who are we to doubt her? I'm predicting a national championship for the volleyball team. So some other predictions: I think that Louisville football is going to win 8 games next year. Which 8 they're going to win, I'm not sure. Which 4 they're going to lose, I'm not sure. The full schedule of the opponents are out, but the dates are not out yet. I say that the team is going to win 8 games. The Louisville basketball team will make the tournament. I think that they are going to contend for a Sweet 16 bid. Whether they get that or not, I am not sure, but I'm predicting that the Louisville basketball team at least gets to the round of 32 and possibly into the Sweet 16. The Louisville field hockey team will win the ACC championship once again in 2022, despite losing some key members to graduation and to transfer. Charlie Van Oorschot has elected to transfer, so that's a big blow for the team, but they do return a good amount. The Louisville women's basketball team, they're going back to the Final Four, baby. We know this. I think that the team's last Final Four bid in 2018 with the loss to Mississippi State. I think that this is a year where Jeff Walz's team, one of the best defensive teams in the country, one of the best defensive teams in Walz's tenure here at Louisville. I think that the team is going to be able to start to put it together offensively more so than they have. They have some solid victories already. I think that this is a team that is going to get to the Final Four. Baseball, moving on to Dan McDonald's team. The baseball team will make the College World Series once again. Unfortunately, the pitching last year kind of kept them out of the tournament over the past year, but they do have some younger pieces. They're bringing in some more players. Every year this team flirts with the College World Series. I think they're going to get back there in the spring of 2022. So definitely check out for that. We definitely look forward to that. Just overall, I think that you're going to see a lot of success across the Louisville athletics department. They're the coaches that are in place. I think that there's a lot of potential all across the board, and we're going to see some very solid stuff from this athletics department. So overall, you see the predictions. We talked about the year in review, talked the top individual performers, top individual moments. Couple quick shout outs first of the Cardinal Sports Zone podcast. The next episode will be releasing on Sunday or Monday. Check that out at cardinalsportszone.com. And the Locked On Bets podcast hosted by your boy Q with handicapping analysis and expert advice from Lee Sterling. You can get that on the Odyssey app or wherever you like to get your podcasts. It's been an extremely fun 2021 calendar year for the Locked On Louisville podcast. I want to take this time to give a couple quick shout outs to some people that have gone out of their way to share the podcast or gone out of their way to help out. Brian Trent has been very great in his support. Ross Jackson sharing every single podcast. Alan Thomas is another guy that from the state of Louisville that does a lot of stuff in promoting and stuff like that. There's some other people that like and share, and I definitely appreciate that. Trevor Edwards is one in particular, but that just because I don't mention you individually doesn't mean that I don't appreciate you. If you do have any suggestions that you would like to see Locked On Louisville cover or how we can improve, definitely hit me up on Twitter. My handle is in the graphic at the bottom left hand of your screen. And also would be remiss if I didn't thank all of the guests that appeared in this past year. Jeremy Wallman with his weekly segment and show on usually Wednesday. He hasn't been on the past 2 weeks. Definitely keep praying for his dad if y'all can. Keep him in your thoughts. And definitely appreciate 55 and for everything the Cardinal Sports Zone does for this podcast and helping promote it and getting awareness. Shane Young, who's been on a couple times, Forbes.com NBA writer, talked about the former Cards in the pros. Former Louisville wide receiver Jaquay Savage has hopped on the show and has been, definitely a friend of the show. The very first guest for the team. For the show, and I definitely appreciate him and everyone else that has kind of gone out of their way. Lance McGarvey, Doug Wilhelm, the Louisville men's basketball and women's basketball PA announcers, respectively. Huge fans of the show, huge friends of mine, and I definitely love what they bring to the table, and they and all the support that they have. But that's going to wrap up this final episode of 2021. And next week, we'll talk about all of the basketball action from the weekend ahead. Everyone have a great day. Everyone have a safe night tonight. Be sure to, don't drive drunk, anything like that. It's not worth it. Be safe. Try to avoid some high populated spots with the Omicron variant of COVID running rampant. Everyone have a great New Year's Eve in the year. Great. And we'll see you right back here in 2022.